We got a lot of fun here today. We're at the intersection of Wacker and LaSalle, and today we're going to be exploring why Chicago street names are named what they are. Any ideas, Wacker or LaSalle? So I am the professor today. Kat, you're my first student. How you doing today?
Good.
So you live in the downtown area, right?
Yes.
So we walk these streets every single day. Do you ever stop to think, I wonder what they're named after?
No.
Exactly, right? You just got to do it, and one of the streets that we know so well is Wacker Drive, obviously. You probably cross Wacker every single day.
Every day, work on it, pass it.
So you're all wackered out.
On it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well then, here's a little quiz for you. Is Wacker Drive named after a businessman, an explorer, or a professor?
An explorer.
That is not correct. It's actually a businessman. I think we have a picture, actually, of Wacker back in the day. He was a German-American businessman, also philanthropist. He was the chairman of the Chicago Planning Commission. He directed the Columbia Exposition. So with this drive, Wacker Drive, was built in part of the Burnham Plan, which he championed. So he was a businessman. How about that?
Interesting.
All right,
a lot of businesses on Wacker.
There you go. All right, now we got LaSalle here. Was LaSalle a businessman, an explorer, or a professor?
A professor.
No, he was an explorer, and I can't even say his name. I think we got a picture. I think it's René Roland Cavalier de LaSalle. Good. Do you speak French or no?
Un peu.
Very good. Okay. He was a 17th century French explorer. He explored the Great Lakes. He's got a statue in Lincoln Park, and he canoed the Illinois River all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Not bad, right?
A dirty river.
I bet it was a little bit cleaner before we all got here. Kat, thanks for playing today.
Thank you.
All right, more lessons on the way. Got Nicholas this morning. How you doing, Nicholas?
I'm good.
You're just getting off work, right?
Yeah.
So you're feeling good.
Feeling tired.
You're feeling tired. Yeah. You were up all night.
Yeah.
Heading back home. You're from the south side of Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So we walk these streets every day, right, Nicholas?
Right.
Do you ever stop and look and think, what are these things named after?
Nah, not really. I just keep it moving.
Exactly. So the point is, what are we even doing here? But I wonder. I'm a curious Chicagoan. So we're at the intersection of Kinsey and Wells. So I'm going to give you a little lesson about why these streets are named that way, okay?
All right.
I'll put the first one in a question to you for Kinsey, all right? It's named after John Kinsey. Was he a fur trader? Was he a European settler? Or was he a murderer?
I would say fur trader.
He was a fur trader, but guess what? He was all three of those things. And we actually have a picture of his settlement. He came to the area from Quebec in the early 1800s. We're looking at his settlement now, one of the first European settlers. He was accused by treason by the British in the War of 1812, and he murdered someone at Fort Dearborn in what's known as the first murder of Chicago. What a positive story there for John Kinsey. Here he is. He got a street named after him. All right, Nicholas. All right, so that's Kinsey. That's run east and west. North-south is Wells. So William Wells, I'll just tell you a little about him. Any idea, any guesses why it would be named Wells?
Nah, not
Want to make up a story about him?
Nah,
I'll just tell you the story, Nicholas, here. Okay, so I think we have a picture, too. He was the son-in-law of Chief Little Turtle of the Miami tribe, which was a Native American tribe that was in this area. He ended up as an Army officer in the War of 1812, and he actually died about a mile southeast of where we are right now. He was fighting for the Miami tribe in the War of 1812, which was fought in part just about a mile southeast along Lake Michigan. Did you have any idea that a war was fought just about a mile away from here?
Nah, I have no idea.
Right, but that's Kinsey and Wells, and that's what it's named after. So what are you going to do with that useful information I just gave you?
Probably go home and Google it.
Exactly. See, inspired you to learn more. We're at the intersection of Grand and Ogden. Ogden's a name that, no matter if you live in the city or the suburbs, you're familiar with Ogden Avenue, as it starts basically right around where we are. It ends a couple blocks away, and it goes all the way through the suburbs and continues on. Of course, it was part and still is part of the old historic Route 66. But do you know who it's named after? It's actually named after Chicago's first mayor by the name of William Ogden. Interesting facts about William Ogden. He was born in New York. He died in New York, but he was Chicago's first mayor. Good-looking fellow there. But again, Ogden Avenue goes for about 30, 40 miles or so. It goes much further than that as Route 34, and then again joining up with National Route 66 during certain parts. All right, so that's the history of Ogden. We're also along Grand. This is a pretty busy intersection. I wish I had a really cool story name for the name of Grand. It used to be called Whiskey Point Road, which is a little bit more of a fancy name, but the reason why it's called Grand, it's named after Thomas Jefferson Vance Owen. Not named after him, but he was the first town president here in Chicago. He named it in 1833 after saying Chicago was a grand place to live. interesting history about Grand Avenue, not only Grand Avenue, but also Milwaukee Avenue, which is just a little bit that way. These routes actually are along original trails that were used by some of the native nations that were here in the area first, which is just fascinating that our major roadways today have their roots going back centuries and centuries. Cool stuff today.